Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 100.
We hit it.
Oof, got there. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
And we got some interesting stuff we're going to talk about. We got some movies. Going to talk about, obviously, the Acolyte finish. So we gotta run over the Star Wars universe. And then I wanted to discuss some things that are happening in the corporate world. How you doing, Jim?
Doing okay. We've been away for a little while.
Yeah.
Happy to be back.
Yeah.
Get back doing
Yeah,
this.
summer break is always,
Summer break,
chance
some
to kind of
vacations
reset
in there.
and everything.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good to be back to work here.
Yeah. So, speaking of back to work, I've been selling my plasma.
Oh.
Yeah, my partner works at the hospital, and they were doing like a deal.
Yep.
And it's pretty good. It's pretty easy money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So I started doing that.
Okay.
I don't love it,
Yeah.
But hey, if it pays for a couple more shows,
Right.
what can I do?
Absolutely. It pays for materials to make product for the shows.
The way I look at it is if it allows us to go a little further outside of our current footprint, because our footprint is really, Maine to Connecticut right now as far as the shows we can go to. So, would I like to go to maybe, Chicago?
Yeah.
For sure.
Or New York Comic-Con would be ideal.
Right, of course. So, let it be said that I have bled for this company.
There we go. There it is. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah. No, it's not bad, though.
Yeah.
It's really not a bad, you go in, it's 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. It's fucking weird because there's just a bunch of people doing it, and it's just
a bunch of people bleeding out.
Wild. What have you been watching? I know you've been away, but
yeah. So I haven't watched a lot, but I did see a movie. Let me know if you ever saw this one or heard of it. A movie called Stardust.
Of course.
Have you seen this
movie?
movie?
Neil Gaiman, who's in a little bit of trouble. I don't know if you heard that. But
yeah. So
it's a charming little.
So
saw it in theaters.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
I did.
So I knew of it, right?
Yeah.
And I've
Charlie
always
Cox.
said, yeah, but I mean, you got Charlie Cox,
Michelle Pfeiffer,
Henry Cavill's
in it. Just that small part.
Yeah. Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
You got Claire Danes.
Yeah, Claire Danes is in it.
You got Mark Strong.
Yeah.
Peter O'Toole.
I forgot Mark Strong was in it.
So,
the king's sons keep dying and shit.
So I knew of the movie.
Yeah, it's got almost like a Terry Pratchett kind of feel.
Yeah, it's like high fantasy, but not like Lord of the Rings
cheeky.
level.
It's like kind of cheeky in its own way.
But
like I said, almost like a Terry Pratchett kind of.
But I didn't know who was in it.
Yeah.
Like I knew Michelle Pfeiffer, right? That was a name that I knew was in it.
Yeah, well, this was Charlie Cox before he was famous.
Right. And Cavill pretty much as
Cavill before he was
well.
famous too.
And like you said, kind of a bit role, but I said to my partner, let's watch this. I think you might enjoy it, right?
Sure.
Not to the Princess Bride level of
it's
greatness,
a good, it's a good, solid, high fantasy.
Yeah, but I thought overall, when it ended, I'm like, we both looked at it like, yeah, that was a good movie. Like,
yeah,
I never read the novel, but I'm assuming it's probably really good because obviously Neil Gaiman, and as we know, Neil Gaiman, writer of The Sandman.
Yeah.
But overall, I was very impressed. But the thing is, like I said, when I went into it, I didn't know how deep the stars were, as far as the cast was. And like every few moments, someone else is popping up. I'm like,
it was
holy
just one.
shit.
Yeah, it was just one of those, no pun intended, stars aligned kind of.
Yeah, but I'm like, why didn't
it didn't do great.
No, and I've heard I heard people talking about it.
I think
people
what happened,
gave it good marks.
I think what happened was, and I forget because it was so long ago, but I remember when it came out. I want to say at the wrong time because fantasies generally do better in the wintertime.
Sure.
And it was also up against like an action flick or something, back when action flicks had weight.
Right.
So it just didn't pull the audience, and nobody knew what it was. Like nobody had any idea.
Yeah. I mean, again, even if the novel sold well, and I think it did, I still don't think enough people knew about the movie.
No, it wasn't mainstream enough to get the success.
No.
Like if they released it today on like Netflix or something, I think it would do really well.
Yeah, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
with,
it's not bad. Like even the CGI isn't too wonky.
No, and I mean you got a good
the acting is all up to par too. So
and I mean it was funny. You know what
it
I
had
mean?
its
like,
moments.
Yeah, like Mark Strong was awesome in it as he is in most everything he's
Charlie
in.
Cox,
but,
you were rooting for him.
Charlie Cox. Well,
Yeah, Claire Danes was the star or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But it was solid.
And
I
Claire
thought
Danes is an ethereal, just works.
Yeah, it did. It worked. I mean, you got Michelle Pfeiffer as the bad guy in the
witch.
thing, which I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no.
But Robert De Niro playing a pirate.
Oh, that was so funny, dude.
Yeah,
they're like supporting each other and stuff. It was really, it was like romp. It was. It's one of those ones you can watch on like, a Friday night or something, and just feel good about it after it's done.
Exactly. It's not too long, so it doesn't really get slow in any parts.
No, it's got, and it does have, that sort of Ringworld. Color of Magic, sort of Terry Pratchett kind of charm and cheekiness to it. It's just, that's a good one. Where'd you catch that?
It was just on demand, free on
Yeah,
demand.
yeah.
And so, like I said, I saw a lot of people talking about it online, talking about how much they enjoyed it. I'm like, I got to catch it. Like, it's a Neil Gaiman book. So I'm like, I'm interested. I want to see what it's all about.
Right.
So saw that it was on for on demand for free. So I'm like, let's sit down, let's watch it. It was a Saturday night, I think it was. Like,
yeah, it's a good popcorn flick, high fantasy, like solid.
Yeah, so
solid through and through.
What about you? What do you get?
So I have a couple. I haven't seen you in a bit. So I caught Lowlifes.
Oh, I
loved it. It was
it was camp as hell, but
it was incredibly campy, but it was so fun.
Right. It was a
so
fun ride.
Right. Like just at the first twist, which I didn't really see coming. I was like, no, because they do a good enough job to hide it.
Right.
As soon as that happened, I was like, oh, buckle up. Like, this is going to be fun.
Exactly.
And it was.
It was.
Yeah.
Good.
So thoroughly enjoyed that.
Excellent.
All right. So I have two for you.
Okay.
So one I liked, one I did not like.
Okay.
So the first one, which is the one I did not like, The Watchers.
The Watchers.
Now, this was directed and written by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, okay, let me give it a chance. And it had an interesting enough premise.
Okay.
This girl is driving through the woods of Ireland. She gets lost. She can't find her way out. There's almost like a supernatural element to it. She meets up with these other people, and basically they're trapped in this sort of concrete building that has like a glass window sort of wall facing the forest.
Okay.
They can't see out, but the Watchers can see in. And interesting enough, Dakota Fanning.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And she was fine. She's a good actress.
Yeah.
It was decent up until the last 20 minutes, and the last 20 minutes was so bad.
Really?
That it tanks.
It just killed everything.
The movie.
That sucks.
It tanks the movie, and there was. I don't want to be too harsh on her because visually it looked great.
Oh, okay, good.
The acting was good.
All right.
Fucking had to throw a twist. It was a twist, but it wasn't really a twist.
She did the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, but it was like a baby twist. It was like, saw that one fucking coming a half an hour ago. And it's like, all right, you did it just because he does it, like whatever. But then it ends up just, it ends up taking. Like if the movie had ended before the twist and kind of left it a little open ended, would have been a great flick.
Yeah.
But it suffers from, over explaining and having to keep
you went
going.
A little bit too far.
Yeah,
with it.
I think you're right. If the train stopped a couple miles before, you would have been good. So, yeah, the Watchers, I would say, if you're just looking for sort of a visually pleasing, safe,
Yeah.
Okay. PG-13 horror
Oh, all
film.
right. Yeah.
You're not going to do bad, but
Sure.
there's much better out there.
Right.
Now, the second one that I watched that I thoroughly enjoyed was Immaculate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have not seen that yet,
So
but I am looking
I'm
forward
not going to get into
it.
spoilers,
Okay.
right? But I went into it somewhat blind. Like I knew it was related to the church.
This is the Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah,
movie.
I knew it was related to the church and involved nuns, but I just assumed it was your typical exorcist, like demons and exorcism. Nope.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it caught me off guard.
Oh, see, now I was under that same impression.
Right. So, and I won't tell you what it's about, but I liked it, and I was just like, all right, so when are the demons going to start popping up? And then once they actually got to what it was about, I liked it more because it was so, and again, it's not rewriting the genre or anything.
Sure.
It just took it to a place where I wasn't expecting it to go.
But it was good.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't what you were expecting.
No,
but,
yeah.
But what you got was still pleasing.
Solid.
Nice.
Maybe better.
Really?
Probably better because it wasn't your typical, exorcist demons,
Sure.
run-of-the-mill flick,
That sounds good.
Yeah, so I highly, highly
Okay, I'm going to definitely
recommend.
catch that one.
Yeah,
then.
that's a good one.
Nice.
And
nice.
she's great in it.
Yeah,
I mean,
of
she's
course, yeah.
pretty solid actor anyway.
Yeah, she is.
It takes place in Italy, so
Okay.
there's almost this isolating. She plays an American, so there's almost this isolating element because she
Yeah.
doesn't speak the language. So
Sure.
that kind of isolates her from the rest of the group and everything. And you feel that way too.
Right.
And ultimately, it ends up being surprising, well acted, pretty tense the whole way through. And
nice.
yeah, I'd give it a watch. I'd give that one a watch.
I'm definitely going to watch that.
So, before we get into Disney, I wanted to talk about something I thought was kind of interesting. So, recently, Microsoft laid off an entire DE&I team.
Yes.
And the leader of that team said that, it's no longer core to business. DE&I is no longer core to, business or whatever. And it kind of got me thinking because I've said this to you a million times. I think diversity is incredibly important. I think that if we don't have different voices from different cultures and different life experiences, then everything is much more bland.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, I think, one, we need to stop thinking that corporations are doing anything except for trying to make money.
Right.
So all of their values and their morals don't exist.
No, of
because
course not.
all they are designed to do is to make money for their shareholders. That's it. It's not about making the world better. It's about making their shareholders money. That is priority one of every corporation.
Right. And it's also about the ability to get money from other corporations.
Sure, but it's
to keep on
not,
funding your corporation.
But it's not about bringing in diversity.
No.
They don't give a fuck about that. They don't care. They don't care about LGBTQ.
No.
Like, just look at Pride Month. The fucking companies switch to the Pride, logos for 30 days and then switch out.
Right.
They don't care about you or me or any of the the trials and they don't care about trans rights. They don't care about gay rights. They don't care about human rights.
Right. They don't care about any
rights. They care about making money.
Right. They care about corporal rights.
And I think it's interesting to see sort of the leader of that group come out and say, Microsoft doesn't consider DE&I a core part of their philosophy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, do they not consider it a core part of their philosophy? Because I imagine they're still hiring whoever the best for the job is.
Sure.
Or is it just that now that the pendulum has started to shift, they're just dropping the act and it was an act from the get-go?
Yeah, I think that what it is that it was something that the corporations the big corporations that own like the real ultra 1%, right? Like the Black Rocks, what have you, right?
Sure.
If you're going to get
investment firms,
right? If you're going to get money from us, this is what you have to do, and they did it to please their masters,
right?
Right. I think now though, again, and I agree, it's a good thing on the face, right? Because we want that. You want all the, but I think that they know how to do it now without needing actual teams to sit there and check boxes, right? Now it's become
right. I think, and you see it with like Sweet Baby in gaming too, right? Like there doesn't need to be a whole fucking company that says, "Oh, I think that's racially insensitive."
Right.
It's just like, right, but we've been evolving as humans together, and started to kind of broaden our horizons and open our eyes a bit more. I don't think you need a whole fucking team to point that shit out anymore.
And I think the realization has hit that you did, the go woke, go broke happened. It happened.
Right. I think, but again, I try to stay away from woke just because of.
No, I'm just saying the phrase,
right,
the terminology.
I know, but I try to stay away from that and this is just me, only because I think there's so much tied to that particular.
Sure.
Word. I think that there was an overcorrection with DE&I.
Mm-hmm.
Some people that didn't belong in certain positions got in.
Right.
And
right.
We're kind of sorting through this as a result.
And I think that most companies are coming back to the sensibility of we need to hire the most qualified, whomever that is. We can't just give jobs to people that don't deserve those jobs because they check a box, because ultimately that's going to harm our business, and that's what's happened.
Right.
They've seen the results of that, and businesses have been thoroughly harmed by doing this. And so again, they're not abandoning DE&I. What they're saying is we're going to go back to merit. And yes, whomever, we're not going to back before it was like, well, if a black man and a white man came in for the job and the black man was more qualified, the white man still got the job. That's not going to be the way it is anymore. The black man is more qualified. He's going to now get that job.
Right.
Because it's going to be merit based.
But on the other side of that, right? And again, I just want to reiterate this: is we need to stop pretending like they gave a fuck at all.
Of course, they
ever.
never
They
did.
never cared.
No,
and
never.
I think the last holdout is obviously going to be Disney, because they went they dug the deepest end.
They will be years after everybody else has shifted. Years.
But I wanted to kind of bring up the Microsoft thing because I thought it was very interesting. Like the thing is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everything is all so much more diverse today
Mm-hmm.
than it was 5 years ago,
Yep.
what the fuck is the DE&I? What is their job?
Their job was to
Mission accomplished.
No, their job was to force it, not make sure it's happening, to force it unnaturally, making sure that
Right, but
people were getting jobs that shouldn't have been getting jobs.
It comes down to, well, they all want to keep their job, so they
Right.
have to do something.
Exactly.
And I think obviously Microsoft being the first big corpo to get rid of their DE&I team is interesting.
Yeah.
I
mean, Zaslav will do it tomorrow now that somebody did it, because
Zaslav,
he'll jump on that bandwagon.
Jumping the gun to cut anything and everything, because that, fucking Warner Discovery is in flames.
Absolutely.
He that man should not. He is terrible at what he does.
Yeah, well, most of them are terrible at what they do. It's just that they rose to that level.
I guess.
However they did, and they must have had some success along the way.
Yeah,
but,
I think Zaslav is so out of his depth.
Yeah, I think they all are. I think that they had successes on smaller levels, which led to promotions that promoted them beyond their means, and now they don't know what to do.
Right. So, I think. I want to talk about the Acolyte.
Yeah. Well, before that, real quick.
Yeah.
So, the Acolyte, and before we get into it, is the worst Star Wars show
14%.
to exist. I mean,
14%.
with any metric you look at, it's going to go down as the worst.
Now, before we get into it, I want to give you my pros. I want to say good things about it
and
first.
we'll get into it in a second. But it's coming off before that was Ahsoka, which was the worst show prior to that. Every show is getting worse and worse.
Right.
So here's the question. Kathleen Kennedy, her contract is up this October. It renews every 3 years. This
Right.
October is that third year where it renews. Do you think that it's going to get renewed?
I hope not.
See, and here's the thing, right?
See, I would say no, right? I would say no confidently, but because 3 years ago when we were talking about this, and I said there's no one in their right mind would renew her contract, they did.
But here's the thing, right? Everybody always says the reason why is because she has pictures, she knows where the bodies are buried, right? All of that stuff.
Right.
Who does Kathleen Kennedy have information on that will harm them at this stage of their life, right? Spielberg? I think there's probably, I'm going to go on the limb and say there's probably an 80% chance that Spielberg is on that Jeffrey Epstein list.
Of course.
And if he's on it, what's going to happen to him
80%
if he's on it?
80% of Hollywood is on that list.
George Lucas is 80 years old.
Right.
What are you going to do to George Lucas? He's out of the business anyway. Bob Iger, his legacy is tarnished to shit anyway.
Right.
And in 2 years, he's gone regardless. So my point is, even if Kathleen Kennedy doesn't get her contract renewed and she lets all of it out, who's going to affect at this point?
Here's my question, right? Is that even if you like the direction that Star Wars has gone in, right? Even if you're one of those people out there that is either a contrarian or actually truly likes the direction it's going in, you can't argue with the business fact that they have been unsuccessful financially.
Right.
Right? So my thing is, you may like the story, but if it's not making money, she's not doing her job.
Right, and your budgets are insane.
Right, you have these balloon budgets.
I mean, 8 episodes, a half hour each, and you paid $180+ million for this.
And you know what's crazy? It's not even 8 episodes; it's 7 episodes because. Well, let me say some positive stuff.
Say your positives.
Yeah, so I watched through it. I thought some of the lightsaber battles were good.
Sure.
Solid.
Sure.
Even some of the martial arts stuff, although it didn't make sense, the choreography was good.
Yeah, that was fine. I don't like it, but it was
yeah,
fine.
I think isolated it was fine.
At. Yeah.
I think that visually it looked pretty.
Yeah, I don't think it was $180 million.
No, neither do I, but I think
visually appealing.
It's better looking than some of the stuff we've
Sure.
gone. I thought, we'll go into spoiler territory. I thought it was really cool to see Plagueis on screen.
Sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
I think he looked good.
Sure.
I would love to see more of him. Not in this context,
Right.
but it was just cool to see him. And that's about all. And then the dude from Squid Game was great in it.
Sure. He was the only acting wise, he was the only one that you could say actually acted well. Everybody else was cardboard. There was no acting that was worth anything.
The twins, like,
she's awful.
She didn't know how to emote.
No, there was no emotion whatsoever.
Ever.
I mean, you couldn't tell. This was another example of, and I said the same thing back when Rosario Dawson played Ahsoka. Like, Rosario Dawson's a great actress. What the fuck happened when she played Ahsoka? She couldn't act her way out of her paper bag.
I think it's the same thing that happened with the prequels where, like, Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen were a little stiff because of all the green screen. And
I think that has a lot to do with it. I think,
But she just couldn't, she didn't emote.
No.
Like, her face didn't change.
No, she couldn't even, I mean, at the end when she's choking
it was so
out
bizarre.
Soul, she couldn't even pretend to be angry.
No.
Like, there was no
So-
different emotion.
So, here are my biggest cons, right? Obviously, retconning the fact that they were made by the Force or whatever. That I don't like that.
No.
Treating the Jedis like villains.
Is the stupidest thing ever.
And then to show Yoda at the end is just the icing on the cake, where it's just like, oh, the greatest Jedi Master, the paragon of good, was in on it the whole time. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
So the problem lies that you had Ki-Adi-Mundi, right?
Well, right, but that's just that.
No. But my point is, when you get to episode 1,
Yeah,
and they're talking about the Sith,
right.
Yoda and him now know Sith exist. And his line, the Sith haven't been around for a millennium. No, you know that they have, and Yoda does too.
Right, so you two are just evil fuckers.
Now you're in, right. So now, not only are you hiding it from the Jedi Council, you are complicit in the
rise
you're evil.
of the Sith.
So
right.
you're evil.
Right.
So you made Yoda evil because you did this.
Right. I think that, to me, like, obviously time-wise, he doesn't, Yoda can be there.
Yeah.
But Mundi doesn't belong.
Well, no, do you know how old Plagueis is?
Well, Plagueis, I think you could be there. I don't think that's an issue.
No, he has an actual birth date, canon-wise.
Oh, he does?
Yeah. So you know how old in the Acolyte he would be?
No.
15.
He didn't look 15.
Right.
He looked like a Sith Lord.
1500. but again, because you were so you just wanted to do what you want to do. You don't give a fuck about canon.
Here's what I think what it was, and I think the Rings of Power is guilty of this too. Is they wanted to tell their own story. It was boring. I shouldn't even say it was garbage. There were garbage elements, but it was more boring than garbage.
Right.
And to me, that's if you swing for the fences and you miss, that's one thing. But if you're bunting, like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So it just seems like they told their story, and then they're like, there's got to be something that we can hook into the Star Wars fans to get a season 2. Oh, we'll show Yoda, we'll show Plagueis. Plagueis will drive people nuts. And again, it was cool.
Right, but here's the problem. So Anakin is no longer special.
Nope.
But here's the problem. So what you're saying is that these two twins were created from the Force. Plagueis, you're now saying he must have saw what happened, and this is why he tries to do it.
He didn't figure that out himself.
So now,
even though we were always under the impression that through his research he figured this out on his own.
Right. And the whole reason for Anakin's birth was the Force went against what he was doing, which was unnatural to the Force.
Right.
And the Force
its way of
the chosen one.
It was balancing out
to make sure that didn't happen.
Right.
Now, none of that matters. Because, again, you've already created through the Force life.
But the thing is that if these characters were awesome and you could root for them, fine.
Yeah, but you're still destroying everything from George Lucas.
But I can get on board with it if you make it better.
Yeah, but you can't
but you're
make
not
it better.
Making it better.
You
You're
can't make it better,
you've
though.
Made Star Wars. What you've done is, you've taken the Jedi who, up until this, were paragons of virtue. They weren't perfect, but they were the good guys. And you said, this isn't Shades of Grey.
Right.
You've said, no, the Jedi are bad guys.
Right. The Sith are misunderstood because of how bad the Jedi are.
Right. If you knew how bad the Jedi was, you would understand,
the reason for the Sith to do what they did.
And it's just
they were forced into it.
But I don't want to get on board with the Sith.
Right.
Now, the reason I say it was only 7 episodes is because episode 3 and episode 7 or 6, whatever the second flashback episode, it's the same fucking episode.
Yeah, basically.
So you didn't make 8 episodes. You made 7 fucking episodes.
Right. But all you've done, and this is why, and this is why Star Wars is dead, because under Disney, you have destroyed everything canonically, right? I mean, again,
Disney is everything Star Wars out of Disney is a dumpster fire,
right?
But there are speckles.
There's
speckles
a thing
of Star Wars here and there.
Right.
That makes you go, oh, this is why I love Star Wars. So instead of that being the norm, right, you're that's the sprinkle on top. Like the Plagueis thing, best thing in the whole fucking series.
Sure.
Just to see him, right?
Sure.
Does it make sense? No. But it's just that little sprinkle. Right. Best thing about Obi-Wan when Vader pulls down the fucking ship. Like there are sprinkles of
there's cool stuff. There is some cool stuff that happen. But I mean the problem is that you've made your Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, and Lucas's Star Wars no longer line up.
No,
they don't line up anymore.
No, they're
two separate
completely,
stories.
Right. I mean, it doesn't make everything that Disney has put out. I guess you can argue about the sequel trilogies because they kind of butt the but everything else they've done, all the shows and everything, it feels like they've split the timeline.
Yeah, they have.
Because it just doesn't make sense because, again, and I know you had episode 4s from the 70s and stuff, but that was when, storytelling was simpler, right? It was just good or bad, right?
Right.
It was, here are our good guys, here are our bad guys. There wasn't that context of, the deepest it got was Luke has doubts.
Yeah.
And so does Vader.
Yep.
Right? That's as deep as it got.
Yeah. Right.
And but now you're taking it and you're fucking twisting it into, well, just kidding.
Right. But here's the thing, right? I always go back to this, you want new fans, right?
Sure.
But if new fans start watching Disney Star Wars and then they watch the original, they're gonna say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. All this stuff is not going to make sense because they're going to be like, wait a minute, you got Princess Leia just sent a message to Obi-Wan. Oh, you fought with my fathers in the Clone War. Bitch, you were with him fucking hanging out on Tatooine going on adventures together in the Obi-Wan series. You know exactly who this is. So that no longer makes sense. You've destroyed that. The meeting with Obi-Wan on the Death Star with Vader. No, you guys have already fought a couple times before. Hey, when Vader is dying and you say, take off my helmet so I can see you. Oh, you'll die. Oh, he has his helmet cut many times where his face is exposed. He didn't die. So now why is he going to die? Like, everything that you're doing, like I said, with Plagueis, no longer matters. The Force creating Anakin as the chosen one no longer matters. You have destroyed everything to do with the original 6 movies. They no longer make any sense and that's why I don't consider Disney Star Wars canon at all. I consider it that this is you telling your own version of Star Wars that
it's just the thing of it is, right? And this all circles kind of back to the whole, it's not people being misogynist or racist. It's just bad.
Right, it's bad.
It's so bad that Leslie Headland has had to give interviews after every episode explaining the fucking episode.
Yep.
Because it's bad. It's boring. Tonally, it's fucking, on another planet.
Yeah. Yeah, but they just don't care about Star Wars. They care about telling their story.
So stop making Star Wars IP.
Right.
Just if you don't care about Star Wars, don't make Star Wars.
Right, but again, you have, because their thing is Yoda. There's Yoda.
Yeah,
so it's Star Wars.
But the context of their Yoda is Yoda's a bad guy.
Well, but they're not gonna. But they don't see it like that because they don't fucking understand what they just did. right?
Right. I think that's the bigger
Like, don't tell
sin.
me that fuckboy Filoni knows anything about lore at Star Wars. He doesn't. He knows shit about Star Wars. This fucking guy knows as little about Star Wars as Leslie Headland and Kathleen Kennedy. This is a fucking puppet who knows shit. He worked under George Lucas as a fucking helper, and he gets credit for shit he doesn't deserve. So don't sit there and tell me that this fucking guy loves Star Wars or knows about it.
I don't know how you put Yoda in that show.
Well, any of it. How he is the guy that's greenlit all of these Disney Plus shows. He is the master head of all of these Disney Plus Star Wars shows. He's the guy that greenlights it and writes some of it and gives the okay on it on every single one of them.
I think if Filoni had final say on the direction of the Acolyte, I don't know if he did.
He did.
I don't know if Kathleen Kennedy.
No. Filoni did.
Then I think. Then I agree with you.
Leslie Headland said it herself.
I agree with you.
Leslie Headland said everything went through Filoni. He oversaw it all. He helped with the writing. He helped with the whole entire thing.
Then I don't think he understands Star Wars lore.
Of course he doesn't.
Because I mean this show. I mean, look. There you can be an apologist. You can say whatever you want about the Force and not making Anakin special. But the final nail in the coffin is making Yoda a bad guy.
Right, but they don't understand they did that. Or if you're going to say Yoda's not a bad guy, then Yoda is completely oblivious to what happened. And that makes
Yoda's
Yoda
not
a
good
stupid
guy.
asshole.
Right, Yoda's a fucking moron.
Then he's an idiot.
So your choices are either Yoda is complicit in the rise of the Sith, or Yoda's a fucking dum-dum.
Right, which, again, that's not the way he's portrayed, right? So knowing what Yoda is,
but the question is, do they know that they just did a character assassination?
Of course they
don't. Or was that
don't.
supposed to just be a fun little Easter egg?
It's supposed to be Yoda,
right? But
Star Wars.
But here's the thing: in the Mandalorian, when Luke showed up, right? That works. That's fine. No big deal. You retcon Grogu into it a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't have far-reaching consequences into the Star Wars universe.
No, but it did make sense because Luke was going to start a new Jedi Order,
right?
And he was going to start training Jedi, and so Grogu was going to be a student of that. So it made sense,
right,
for Luke to come and get him to take him to be a trainee because he was,
right. So that's an example.
Sensitive.
That's an example of sort of retconning something that doesn't do damage to the original.
Right, but here's the problem. Then when Ahsoka comes out, you said, well, everybody's Force sensitive.
Right.
That's
well,
not
they went
special.
back to the Last Jedi shit.
Yeah. So again, so that cameo by Luke has been destroyed because it doesn't matter if Grogu is Force sensitive. Anybody is Force sensitive. Luke, just pick fucking 5 people right there in front of you. They're all Force sensitive. Train them.
Right.
You don't have to go looking for Grogu because he's not special. Because it doesn't matter. Everybody can use the Force. So you said, Dave Filoni.
It's just there's so many egregious things that have come out of this, and again, her contract is. Look, like it or not, I mean, if I'm the board, I'm saying don't renew her fucking contract.
But here's the other thing.
What is she? Look, the best thing you can say about Kathleen Kennedy's run is that the Indiana Jones movie wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but they're still going to look at the $300 million
right,
loss.
It lost money.
Right,
but
that's not going to.
What can you say that's positive about her tenure?
But here's the other thing too. What is coming out that gives any fan hope that things are going to turn around? The Mandalorian and Grogu movie will suck. The Rey movie will suck.
Well, I just think it was funny because I was reading some of the comments online after Episode 8 dropped, and most people are just like, "This is trash." Right? And then every now and then you'll get one person that's like, can't wait for season 2.
Right,
and it's like, I got bad news for you.
Yeah, but they'll do a season 2.
I thought they weren't doing a season 2.
They're going to do a season 2 because Kathleen Kennedy right now, and this is my whole point, right? Kathleen Kennedy feels like she's untouchable and she will do whatever she wants and no one's going to do anything about it. And my point is, and that's because I think everybody's fearful because of what she knows. And I go back to saying, even if she drops every bit of information she has against anybody that she could potentially have info on, who is it going to affect? These people will be dead in a few short years just based upon their age in some cases. And again, even if you told me that Steven Spielberg was having sex with underage women on the Epstein Island, Steven Spielberg is all set. Nothing you're going to do is going to harm him. Iger is not going to. Again, his legacy is gone, but his tenure at Disney is going to be up in 2 years, regardless of what comes out. He's going to have to. They want him to step aside. Lucas, again, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to affect George Lucas. So even if you fire her and she's good and she threatens to let all the cats out of the bag, so what? Who's it going to hurt? Who could she possibly harm that anybody is going to be fearful of? Let it happen. But how could you renew her for another rolling 3 years and allow this to continue?
You really want to do this for another 3 years?
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, the fans don't like it.
No, the fans have every Disney Plus show, just like every movie, has gotten progressively worse and lost more money. You're 12 years in and you have not made back the $4 billion you spent to acquire Lucasfilm. After 12 years of ownership, you have not recouped that money. How in the world do you allow this to continue? This was a printing press of money when you bought it.
Yeah, the excitement when even people were excited when Disney bought it.
Right.
Because they were like, the Star Wars universe just got an influx of cash.
Right. You just figured that Lucas would continue on. Even though he sold it, you'd think that you would have, allowed Lucas to continue with he wouldn't own it anymore, but you would use him as the architect to keep building, and instead you wanted nothing to do with them. You threw away the sequel trilogy that he had written, and you went with what Kathleen Kennedy wanted, and it was an outright disaster. Nothing worked. Nothing has worked. And you have things coming out in the future that no one wants, that no one's excited for. Mandalorian Season 3 was a dumpster fire. And don't tell me Jon Favreau is the savior. Jon Favreau, 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, it has gotten progressively worse by a lot every single season. So don't tell me Jon Favreau is the savior of anything.
No, I don't know how. I honestly don't know how. Sometimes the rod is too deep.
Mm-hmm.
That I think it would be in Disney's best interest to sell Lucasfilms.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, again, you're not going to do any more with Indiana Jones, and you're not going to do anything more with Willow. But you could salvage Star Wars.
The problem is, I forgot they destroyed Willow too.
Destroyed.
It was so bad.
Oh, terrible.
It's not worth anything.
No. You could not get $4 billion.
I don't know if you could get $2 billion for Lucasfilms right now.
No, you'd be lucky to get half. You'd be lucky to sell it for half of what you paid for.
But the question becomes, if you don't know what to do with the property and it's hemorrhaging money every time you release something, isn't it better just to cut off the limb?
Yeah. You know what? Do the friggin' Dallas thing. Open up the shower door, fucking, what's his name? Bobby is sitting there, and it was all a dream.
Yeah.
And fucking pretend that
just have
nothing
Mark
you
Hamill
did.
in the shower.
Yeah, pretend nothing you did happened.
Yeah.
And start over again and say none of that is canon.
I just don't think it works.
It doesn't work.
None of it really works.
No, and again, you're talking about, every show has been worse than the previous
Acolyte was
one.
something special, though.
Yeah.
Like, And the thing is, right? I don't particularly like Leslie Headland as a person. I think she was,
almost
in my
nobody
opinion, I think she was complicit with the
of
Harvey
course.
Weinstein stuff.
She was calling the people to set up the appointment. So
that being said, she wrote Russian Dolls. Like, she's not untalented. She, it's not like this was her only writing credit.
No, but you don't. But she doesn't know Star Wars,
right? And I think that really shows,
right? And then you hired writers that have never seen a Star Wars show before. And as I said, back when we talked about this originally, and I made the comment then, if you're getting writers that know pacing, that know continuity, then okay, you don't have to necessarily know Star Wars. You know how to write episodic TV. You did it. That didn't happen.
No.
That was all a fucking mess. So what did you hire these writers that had no idea what Star Wars is?
I just think
if not for those purposes.
It's just so bizarre. The pacing, the tone, everything was just
terrible.
so off.
And the acting was atrocious.
Yeah, the acting
Amandla
was...
Stenberg is... And here's the thing, right? Amandla Stenberg in The Hunger Games could act.
Yeah, but I don't understand what the emotionless thing was.
Well, but why is it always when you come to Disney Star Wars, it happens? Or Disney in general? Because I said the same thing about, what's her name from Game of Thrones? Emilia Clarke. When Emilia Clarke was in Secret Invasion, she could not act worth her life. She had zero emotion. We know that she can act. You know what I mean? We know Rosario Dawson can act, and we've seen Amandla Stenberg act in The Hunger Games. So what is it about Star Wars and Disney that makes it so that these actors can no longer show zero emotion? I mean, is it the horrible writing? Is it that they're told to do that?
I don't know. I think it's just a combination of the story not making a ton of sense, the writing being terrible.
Yeah, and I think everything in a green screen is got to be very hard to work with.
At least with Lucas, there was some, there were story points.
Yeah, and there was practical effects that probably helped quite a bit.
And the other thing is that Osha and May are not interesting characters.
No.
Like, if you greenlight a season 2, it can't be about Osha and May because they're fucking boring.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Not that Star Wars toys sell at all, because their merchandise sales are bottom of the barrel. Who would you, if you had to get a figure from Acolyte, who would it be?
Plagueis.
Of course it would be. And you could have gotten Plagueis without Acolyte ever existing. You'd say Plagueis. There is not a single character that you would buy from the Acolyte other than Plagueis.
If it had to be, if you want to put stipulations on it and say it has to be maybe Soul. Like,
I doubt it. I doubt anybody would want that character.
No,
I really don't. I don't think anybody's buying Soul toys.
No.
Plagueis toys will sell because it's Plagueis.
Yeah, but nobody's playing with a Plagueis toy like how he showed up in the Acolyte, just peeking his head out. Like they're doing like Sidious fucking...
Right, but there again, that's the thing. You've created... There is no character who in Disney Star Wars have they created... that would be a character that...
No one.
Right?
No one.
Mando, right?
I guess.
But you didn't create Mandalorians. Those existed.
Yeah, he was just a bear.
He's just like a Mandalorian. Right? Grogu is just a baby Yoda.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get credit for those things. So maybe the Rebels crew... Maybe you'll get credit for that.
Pogs, whatever the fuck those things are called.
I mean, but, again, people would line...
Kylo Ren's kind of cool.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that might be one. But, I mean, again, back in the 70s and 80s, you'd wait an hour to get a fucking Bespin guard it came out.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. Like, I know we've talked about this show before, like the toys that made us covered Star Wars
Right.
toys, and there was that excitement where
Right.
things
Look, I
were-
was there, and I was one of those kids
Right.
that was that ran to the store
But
whenever something
when I
new
was
came out.
Even when I was a kid, they had those the mini figures with it had like Vader as the cardboard cutout or whatever, like that series, and everybody wanted to get Everybody wanted Luke,
Right.
Leia, Vader.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't find them.
Right now, you look at the YouTube videos of people that post the toys at Ollie's and all these discount clearance centers, and it's all Disney Star Wars. And again, you're gonna get all the original characters because you overproduce, but no one wants Star Wars toys anymore. You don't want Star Wars toys in general anymore because there is just such a lack of interest in Star Wars in general that none of the toys sell. It doesn't matter if you're from the original trilogy or the original 6 or if you're new. Disney Star Wars has destroyed Star Wars completely. And this was a cash cow, and they have utterly destroyed it.
Yeah, I was left in awe when the series ended. I was like, "There's no way." And look, I've given Disney a fair shake. I've watched the Marvels. I put myself through these fucking And again, they're not. I would say Acolyte is pretty bad with the lore, but like for the most part, they're not particularly bad. They're just boring.
Right, and that's the thing. Like that's Andor. Andor.
Right. No, Andor was pretty
found
good
it,
though.
Yeah, but most people found it boring.
Slow, yeah.
Right. But the people that did like it, but it's such a small amount of people
Right.
that actually talk about it and like it. Again, you could.
I think if you had a healthy Star Wars universe right now, like Andor would be one of those ones where it's not for everybody, but because there's excitement for Star Wars and things, like you kind of, you get more people to watch
Yeah.
it, and it's like, yeah, it wasn't the best one, but it was still pretty good.
Right. But people don't, but no one's going to sit. And,
But Andor shouldn't be a high point.
No, and you're going to get a season 2 out of it, and it's like, who wants to sit and I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, the people that like it will watch it, and
Sure.
that's it.
Right, and it'll be one of the lowest viewed shows, like season 1, because the people that like it, but there aren't that many people in general that liked it. It wasn't a series that did well. It wasn't successful by any metric whatsoever. It just happened to be that the people that saw it, the very small amount, were like, yeah, it's okay. It's the best thing that they've produced. It kind of reminds me of Star Wars if I had to choose any of the stuff that came out. But
How awesome was it when she turned the blue lightsaber red?
yeah.
No effort.
But that's a Disney creation. They created that themselves. The bleeding of the Kyber
Yeah.
crystal. That's a
Oh
Disney
my God,
creation.
dude.
It's stupid. It's a fucking mood ring.
Yeah,
It's
but
stupid.
even if you want to go with the bleeding of the Kyber crystals, right? Every other depiction of it, there's been like strain and rage and like it takes a lot.
Yeah.
No, not her though. She
No.
just fought like it's a fucking
Yeah.
push pop,
Right.
dude.
That's exactly what it looked like. That's absolutely
Yeah,
what it looked
there
like.
was like she wasn't emoting. She just
No.
stared at the fucking lightsaber
No.
and it turned red.
No, absolutely.
Wild.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I will say one more thing. As a child, I looked up to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, who didn't?
Right? Luke Skywalker was my idol.
Sure.
As a kid growing up, you idolize him. As an adult, Mark Hamill is everything I don't ever want to be. He is the fucking worst. This guy is the worst fucking guy with all the shit he says online and all of his rhetoric.
Yeah, but here's the
He's
thing.
a fucking trash heap.
Here's the thing. I never understood why people gave celebrities so much shit for voicing their opinions. They're just people. They can say whatever they want.
Sure, they can.
I'm not here because I'm trying to like you as a person.
No, but again, don't make yourself unlikable. Like that's what these people do. They make themselves unlikable to, 50% of the country. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why you're an actor and you're supposed to want 100% of the
No,
audience.
I think it's just. I think most actors have narcissism, and it's just
they do, and
it's
that's
just,
the problem. And and
they
because
can't,
we
they
give them a
can't,
platform,
they can't
it
go
shines
silent.
through.
They can't go silent, and if they feel like there's injustices, they're going to speak on them. Now, that being said, I think they have every right to do that.
Sure,
and I don't care what any actors say politically.
No, I'm not saying I care. It's just that
I don't go to the mayor and say, teach me how to act.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck what his thoughts are on acting, just like I don't give a fuck what an actor's thoughts are on anything aside from...
Right. But it's just one of those things that, like Harrison Ford, right, is like a grumpy old man. But overall, but he doesn't get into where he says things that people may not like, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's from a different generation than Hamill.
Mark Hamill isn't really that far off.
Probably like 10 or 15 years.
I'm just not a fan of Mark Hamill, the man.
Yeah, Mark seems to he definitely skews towards leftism and stuff. And if that's not your cup of tea, then I can see it. I can see not liking him.
But it's just that it's not just that. It's that you can't. It's just one of those guys where I feel he's so disingenuous with the things he says. I think he's such a corporate puppet in the things that he says, and I'm like, that just it goes like. Maybe because it goes so against what Luke Skywalker is.
Right, but it doesn't take away from Luke.
No. I'm not. That's my point.
Right.
That's my whole point is, as much as I love Luke and cherish Luke, I don't feel that way about Mark Hamill. Like that's my Sith and Jedi right there.
Right, but the thing is like I don't care.
Sure,
as long
you
as
may
my
not.
Listen, as long as my actors aren't running around like raping people or murdering people, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You're look. As far as I'm concerned, most of them are only educated in acting.
Right.
Okay. And maybe you get to see the world a little bit more, so you're worldly. But that doesn't give you a fucking degree in world issues.
I just wish they would stick to acting. That I guess my point is that I don't want to hear your political views, and I don't want to hear you, and I don't like that you make fun of people that don't share the same view as you. I don't think that you have the right to criticize fans that don't agree with you. And I don't think you should be attacking fans that don't politically, agree with everything that you agree with. Like, again, you can have your opinion, but I don't think that if you don't agree with your opinion, you should be attacking people that you want as somebody that pays to go see you act.
Listen, I don't think anybody should be attacking anybody.
No, but that's what's happening.
But at the end of the day, nobody should be bothered what Mark Hamill is saying.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, but that's not my point. My point is,
you don't like
I don't like him chirping back at fans who don't agree with him.
I get it.
Like,
but that's a two-way street too, right? He'll post something, and then if you go through the comments, he gets raked across the coals.
Right.
And the thing
but you have to expect that.
Sure, but the thing is that it's just, I'm of the opinion that there's a lot of noise.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
Some of the noise is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it isn't.
Most of it isn't.
So you have to pick and choose where, what noise you're going to expose yourself to. And as far as I'm concerned, Mark Hamill is an actor. I want to see him on TV, on the screen. That's it. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm not following your Twitter because if you're not posting the next movie you're in, then I'm not interested in your Twitter. I don't care what you have to say, just like he doesn't give a fuck what I'm saying.
Right. I just don't like, though, that you can't have a different opinion.
No, but that's not to get into politics, but things are incredibly divided right now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I just, again, I just don't think that, but it even goes down to like Star Wars, right? If you don't like the Acolyte and you voice your opinion, you shouldn't, the Star Wars actors shouldn't be coming at you.
No, I agree.
With all this rhetoric.
And here's the thing: if you like The Acolyte, that's fine.
Sure, you can.
It's totally cool that you like it. But my response to you is, okay, explain to me what you like, and explain to me how you're okay with the bastardization of the lore.
Right.
And if you have reasonable explanations for that, cool. I'm still not going to probably like it, but I don't think everyone should be allowed to like and dislike what they
but a healthy discussion about it,
right? Instead of just
different
saying
than being
right.
Just going on the attack because you voice a different opinion than the one you posted.
The thing is that Leslie's come out before we
and
put
that's
this one to
both
bed.
sides,
right? Leslie's come out and said, "Oh yeah, it's totally both." I mean, it's funny because both sides play by the same playbook,
right?
So but Leslie came out and said, "Oh, I expected it to be review bombed," and it's like. But we've seen what review bombing looks like, and it's not 14% steady. It's not 14% steady.
Right.
And this is holding at 14%. So this is not, even if you want to go plus or minus 10%.
Right. But that was looked into, right? And there was as many, if not more, first-time accounts that gave it...
Tens.
Right. So... It was that's negligible. So
right for the amount of stuffing, review padding that was done.
Right.
But it's just again, usually with review bombing, over the course of time, the score goes up because it's usually just at the beginning that you get the bomb. This has consistently stayed at 14.
Right.
So it's not review bombing, it's how people feel about this show.
Right. And you're not in the top 10 in Nielsen at all.
And the thing is that if it's getting a 14%, even IGN, who is very, 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 very gracious to Disney, is giving it 5, gave the last episode a 6.
Yeah. And that's generous.
And that's being
generous.
Right, that's from IGN. So I don't know. I mean, I'm glad it's over. Hopefully there won't be more, but
there will be.
All right, let's put this one to bed. Jim has always been doing this for a little while now.
We got to the 100 mark. So
what do you got going on?
Just getting as much artwork out as we can. Making sure that we're getting stuff out every week. So stop by the socials, check out what's going on, check out some. Monthly comic strips that's going on, and fan art and all good stuff.
All right, guys. So that's episode 100 of The Corner. You know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. We're going to be at Granite State Comic Con in September and Northeast Comic Con in November, and that'll be that.
Yep.
But what do you guys think? I mean, have you seen Stardust? Or The Watchers, or Immaculate? What do you think of them? Did you like The Acolyte? Big Acolyte fan. Do you think Kathleen Kennedy deserves a renewal for another 3 years? You want to do another 3 years of Kathleen Star Wars? Let us know in the comments. All right, crew. We'll catch you on the next one.